Hello, the Pine News is back. Yeah, we're calling it the Pine News again because we're focusing on the Pine Barrens. So of course it's going to be Piney. And we have a lot to talk about regarding the Pine Barrens, both here on Long Island and in New Jersey as well. So let's get to it. The first bit of news that we have for you, major news for the folks in New Jersey in their Pine Barrens, is they've had a major forest fire that's been burning now for quite a few days at Wharton State Forest. And while it is 100% contained, it is only 50% controlled, and it has burned 3,500 acres. The forest fire was probably started due to a lightning strike, and people will say it's a bad thing, but in the Pine Barrens, fire is an essential part of the Pine Barrens ecosystem. The pitch pines, as I've said numerous times, need fire to survive. The fire keeps out invasive species, it keeps out the oaks, and the pitch pines have special bark that protects them from fire. Even if the needles turn brown and fall off, the tree is still alive and will bud back. And as well, many of the cones will only open and release their seeds for new pitch pines to grow in the heat of a fire. So fire is always a good thing in the Pine Barrens. This has been part of what the Pine Barrens has been doing for many, many, many eons, and will continue to do so. But anyway, that fire is under control, but there was quite a bit of smoke that was generated from that fire. It was actually visible on the satellite imagery, which was pretty impressive. So take a look at this. Just want to show you the smoke here from the fires that were burning in Wharton State Forest, and this is July 21st, and you could see here the smoke right here from the fire over the Pine Barrens here in New Jersey, and you can see the smoke is literally covering all of it's gone into Delaware and Maryland and out over the ocean as well. This was the 21st, and if we zoom out, you can see the extent of it. So yeah, quite a lot of smoke from this fire. And the 22nd, you could also see the haze. This is all from the fire as well, from this fire burning in Wharton's. The wind was blowing sort of from the north and the east, and it was kind of like getting caught up in this whole area. Fortunately, we weren't smelling it here, but you could just see how big of a fire this was in Wharton. So you could see that smoke went pretty far. We didn't smell it here on Long Island, but you could smell it in the whole southern New Jersey, central New Jersey, into Maryland and Delaware. So the next thing that I have for you is this horrible project that is called the Heartland project. Now, Islip Town approved phase 1 of this Heartland project. This was done a couple of days ago, and I have mixed feelings about it because the Pilgrim site is kind of run down. This is at the Pilgrim site. But what I don't like is it will forever ruin the peaceful character of this site. While there are a lot of dilapidated buildings that were knocked down, others that need to be, that were abandoned, there are also areas of Pine Barrens and fields, and they are important habitat for many creatures, birds, butterflies, and that will be lost as a result of this project. And I want to show you now what exactly we stand to lose with this project being built. And so I'm just going to show you phase 1, which is 190 acres. All right? And this is what it's going to look like. And my concern is that they will start cutting down some of the trees and open space fields in this area over here to build this. And this is what it's going to look like. Take note of this tower here, or take note of this water tower. All right. You could also, they talk about affordable housing, but you can see, judging by these stores and stuff, this is going to gear to professionals. Okay, so this is an overview of the site, and I'm putting this all in perspective. Where they want to build Heartland Town Center is right over here. This is the Pilgrim, the former Pilgrim Psychiatric Center, which still has some buildings. And Pilgrim Psychiatric Center is an important facility. So I don't think it's going to be completely shut down, hopefully, but they want to basically, phase one is going to be over here. All right. And this site basically lies in a fairly large undeveloped area. We have the Edgewood Oak Brush Plains Preserve over here, which you've seen in many of my videos, and I go hiking frequently at. We have some more Pine Barrens over here, some along the Sagatos Parkway, which will wind up being widened as a result of this project, which will mean the loss of trees. And you consider all the traffic and all the effects this is going to have on this area from this huge, huge development. So now let's take a look further in here, and I'll show you, now that I've given you the overview, let's go into the site here and explain to you where this phase one is going to wind up being. And this is the part that got approval. It's going to be in this area right here. And there's that tower, all right? There are Pine Barrens all over here, all right? And when we reviewed the original DGEIS, we saw that there were going to be some of the loss of some Pine Barrens and open space. And this is a field of open space here. This and this and this, you can tell, are the footprints of where some buildings were. But my concern is this development goes beyond the areas where these buildings are knocked down and into open space. And open space is a precious resource here on Long Island, and we shouldn't be losing any of it. So now let's jump into the street view of the area to show you what it looks like now. Alright, so this is what it looks like now. The beautiful open space. Yeah, it's true there was a building here, but this is the tower that you saw earlier. Alright, and this here is going to be the focal point of this development now. Just look at how beautiful it is here. You got this beautiful open field surrounded by pitch pines. It's probably important butterfly habitat as well. And this is all going to be lost. And I have a huge problem with that. I really hope that Suffolk County interferes to stop this project. I know the Pine Barrens Society is against this project as well. And you know, this is a beautiful area that really, I think that the development should be in the areas where the buildings were. Like, I think this is an area where a building was. All right, but I think that these areas here should be left alone as open space. That's my opinion. So you could see that will forever change the character of the area, and I honestly think, even though the project has been scaled down, it has now been in the news that the Suffolk County Planning Commission is now thinking of trying to interfere to stop this project because of the Islip approved more development than the original plan allowed. Also, the county wanted 15% affordable housing. Under the Islip plan, it's only 10% affordable housing. And we all know it's hardly going to be any affordable housing. I don't talk about that issue here anymore, but you know, developers here on Long Island, they don't seem to want to build affordable housing. They just want to build unaffordable housing for rich people. And that's what this development is going to wind up being, is more rich people and more strain on our island. And so after, you know, looking at the site again, and, you know, the Pine Barrens Society, I've disagreed with them in the past, but I think me and the Pine Barrens Society need to be on the same page here. We are on the same page. We are against this development. As it stands right now, I'm against the Heartland project. I think that it should have only been sited on the areas where there were buildings, all right? The fields, that open field where the water tower is, a beautiful site, all right? And honestly, I think that maybe this land would be better off turned into a state park, similar to what has happened with Kings Park. The developer will say we need affordable housing, we need all this, but the problem with this site is that it's not near the trains, it's not walkable, it's going to generate a lot of traffic, it's in the wrong place. And therefore, I've thought about it a lot, about my opinion. It's been kind of thinking about it, but now that the plan is finally out, I am against Heartland Town Square, and I urge every one of you to get involved to try to stop this development. It will be very destructive to the Pine Barrens in this area. Not only will they be cutting down trees, but the amount of traffic, the amount of pollution, and the amount of strain that's going to be placed onto our drinking water as well is completely unacceptable. And so I think we need to stop this project, and I hope Suffolk County sues to stop it. Honestly, I think the state needs to step in and turn this into a state park. I understand the developer has bought certain land. The state can buy him out, and we can turn this into a beautiful state park. And we need to keep the facilities there that are for people with mental illness, because the state has been cutting and cutting and cutting. And I don't really want to talk about that subject much more anymore, but the state has been cutting and cutting, and we need to keep the services available for these people. For people like me, there are various degrees of mental illness. People go there for day therapy. I think there's residential services on that site too. And again, I think that it's a peaceful setting where people with mental illness can feel better being in that setting. And and seeing that turned into this little city, no. I think we need to stop this project right now. All right. And hopefully we can do it. All right, we got to join together and we got to stop it. All right, Islip just care; they just see the dollar signs like Riverhead and all these other towns. But let's get to some good environmental news here. We have some really nice things going on here too. The state DEC has purchased 38 acres in Manorville in the heart of the Pine Barrens. There's a beautiful unnamed kettle hole pond there, so let's check out that site right now. So I want to show you this newest area that has been acquired to protect the Pine Barrens. And this is going to be in the northeast corner of Wading River Manor Road and the expressway here. So this area right here, this is what has been added. The DEC has added this. And you can see there's a nice little kettle hole pond here. It's actually a pretty big kettle hole pond. This will make a nice preserve, and you can see also that there's beautiful Pine Barrens over here. This is also a park over here. So this has been a great acquisition for the Pine Barrens. So it's a beautiful site, and I think it's going to make a nice little preserve area for people to hike in. I'm glad it was preserved. There's a lot of other Pine Barrens preserves around there. The other thing is, let's get to the state park that is, I think it's called Halleck Pond State Park. It is just opened, and there's a beach there. There may be Pine Barrens. It's sort of out on the North Fork, so let's check that out too. And this you're looking at here is Long Island's newest state park. This is I think it's called Halleck Pond State Park. Halleck's Pond State Park, and you can see it's named after the pond that's in the middle. It's a kettle hole pond. This is an upland North Shore forest, but there may as well be Pine Barrens in here as well. I have yet to actually visit this place, but this, I'm not sure exactly how to access it. I think they put a road in over down here. I think you could see that they put you could see them building it here. So I think the parking lot is going to be somewhere. I think this is where the parking lot is now. But yeah, this is going to be a great state park, beautiful place. Not really some place you can access very easily by public transportation, but nonetheless a really nice place. It'll be really nice. It is a shame that we lost another area. I'm just going to take you down along the North Shore here of the North Fork. The North Fork, actually. North Fork turning into the North Shore here as we head west. But I want to show you what happens when we don't preserve. This is what happens when we don't preserve. Friar's Head was a... there's a lot of Pine Barrens over here. You can see the dark green. This was... A lot of people wanted to see this land preserve, and unfortunately it was turned into a golf course, and a very luxurious golf course to boot. So try getting on here and checking out the Pine Barrens, and you're probably going to wind up in some trouble. But yeah, this was a sandhills environment of Pine Barrens on the North Shore, which is kind of not that common. I don't know if they exist in Jamesport or not, but hopefully they do. I will check that place out sometime. But this is what happens here. This is what happens when we don't protect the land. We lose it. So that's going to be a nice state park for people to enjoy. And the other thing is LIPA has finally taken off the table. Now LIPA's still around. You know, they still sort of run things a little bit. PSEG basically is the company that maintains and operates the electric system here on Long Island. However, it's still owned by LIPA. So, but LIPA has said they do not They are not pressing for the solar project at Shoreham right now, so that is great news, because that also goes along with the plan that is awaiting Governor Cuomo's signature of the bill that is going to preserve the Shoreham woods, as well as the woods in, they call it Mastic, I think it's more like Shirley, from development, and add that to the Pine Barrens Core Preservation Area. So check these areas out. So this is the area I just want to briefly show you here. This is where they wanted to build the solar farm. Thank God it's not happening. This is Pine Barrens here, that lies north of the Shoreham Wading River High School and Brookhaven State Park. This is the LIPA, formerly Lilco. This is where Shoreham was supposed to go online, but you can see a large portion of this is undeveloped. So fortunately, there is a bill right now that just needs the governor's signature. It's been passed by Bull. I assume he is going to sign it. He better. That will add this to the Pine Barrens as a preservation area, so no development can happen here. This is an area that is a mix of Pine Barrens and North Shore upland forests, and a beautiful beach over here too. So I think it'll make a great park. And the other area that is part of this is in, they call it Mastic. I don't know if it's really Mastic or not, but this is the other area here that's, I think it's more like Shirley. Brookhaven Airport is over here, and you can see all that green. That's all from pitch pines in here. This is all Pine Barrens. And this will also be added as a part of a park, which will be really nice. You know, hopefully it'll be, I don't know about this property over here, but this all should be preserved. This whole area here, hopefully will wind up being preserved as well. Okay, so you can see there that I think it will be great news for having these areas added to the Pine Barrens. So let's get over to the public transportation side of things. We have the Long Island Railroad has summer of hell. You know, it's not a summer of hell at all. All right, it really isn't. However, there was a problem last week. There were signal problems in Jamaica, which caused a lot of problems during one of the evening rush hours, and it was literally to the point for a little bit where there was hardly any eastbound service going through Jamaica, so it was causing a real problem there. It was affecting all the branches except for the Port Washington. And then we had a minor, or shall we say partial, derailment at the Long Beach Yard on the Long Island Railroad, and that is a partial derailment. A train, basically what happened was a train partially derailed, and it happened during the morning rush, and because of that, it happened in Long Beach, but the service wound up being suspended for most of the branch. They did have Babylon trains stopping at Lynbrook to serve Lynbrook, but there was a lot of issues there. They did have the shuttle buses there. They had some buses there, whatever, but it was a mess, and people, this is a problem with the way the Long Island Railroad is run, is parking. I've said this before. I think that we need to do away with these little permit, village permit, resident permit parking things. I think the MTA should own all the lots. The lots should be free and should be first come, first serve. And you need to do away with these residency requirements, all right? It's just another way of NIMBYs trying to take over property that rightfully really belongs, in a lot of cases it belongs to the Long Island Railroad. It may be leased by the towns, but you know, when you show up for a train, it should be first come, first serve. That's the way I think, all right? So if you get there first, that's it, you get the space. I don't, you know, that's all there is to it. So do away with these residential parking restrictions. It's bullshit, especially when something goes wrong, because now people from the Long Beach branch, if there's a problem, they, let's say you live in Long Beach or Island Park, they're not allowed to park in the town of Hempstead lot. So what do? Where do they go? That's a problem. You know, the town of Hempstead is notorious for that. You know, have their big signs up. You know, the Babylon branch is notorious. It's ironic that this branch gets some of the best service and yet has some of the most parking restrictions of any branch. Yet it gets the most service and has the most capacity. Yet it has the most parking restrictions. You know, you can go to Deer Park and it doesn't cost a thing to park there, and that's why that lot is always so overcrowded all the time. But you can't go to Babylon. No, you got to pay. You got to be a resident. That's bullshit. That needs to stop. All right, first come, first serve. Let's do away for these residency requirements. Screw the snobs. They can just lump it. All right. So we have that. the summer of hell, which is not much of a summer of hell. All right, let's be honest. I want to check out. I usually don't talk about him, but Yuki had a good video out. He was showing some trains over in Penn Station, and the Babylon train was like there was hardly anyone on it. This was rush hour, and it was fairly empty. And then the Ronkonkoma train was fairly crowded. Even now, with the cuts that they made, the combination to the Babylon branch is still overserved. So it's something to think about now. I know it's summer, so the ridership is less, but I think that the Babylon branch still gets a little too much service, and it's still spoiled, and still something needs to be done about having more service equity. And some of the projects, I have good news. I think I brought it up to you in the last one. The third track project is now going forward. The opposition has been dropped, and Cuomo has talked. I have to say, Cuomo. This is the key. This is what Cuomo's got to stick to: getting these projects done, like the third track, like the Ronkonkoma double track, like the East Side access, to improve the train service elsewhere. Because I know a lot of the main line's limitations are due to the current setup of the main line, because it's antiquated, and it needs to be. The main line needs to have the best service, not the Babylon branch. The main line carries more people and is a much more vital artery because so many other branches use it, and it's part of the reason why I prefer to actually for what I do, I prefer the main line over the Babylon branch, because you can make better connections that way versus with the Babylon branch. So I think that I like this. I'm glad to see this money being invested. I'm glad to see the governor takes this seriously. He's there's a bit of thing going on here between De Blasio again, who's saying the subway is falling apart, and De Blasio is. How I feel about him. I think he's done a really bad job running the city. Now he's trying to pick a fight with Joe LaHoda and Governor Cuomo. De Blasio, you pick a fight with those two guys, you are going to lose. Let me tell you that right now. Hopefully this is De Blasio's last term as mayor of the city. The last thing, but certainly not the least thing, is who's really getting a summer of hell. It's people who take the bus. That's who's getting the summer of hell. All right. Andrew Lee, he took a couple of videos, you can check them out, about the situation with NICE, a lot of missing buses. I experienced it firsthand today. The 22 eastbound never showed up, and the 22 westbound in Westbury, there was no 22 service this afternoon. I was standing there for like 40 minutes, I didn't see anything. I had to take the train. So I think there was some breakdowns. And then I passed by Jamaica, and literally there wasn't a NICE bus in sight at Jamaica, passing by Jamaica Center.
Please step over the gap between the train and the platform.
So I think there's some kind of slowdown, some kind of issues going on at NICE. It's going to continue to get worse. They've been having a lot of breakdowns. I think it's really getting to the point where the MTA really needs to come back and take over, and hopefully that's what's going to happen when Mangano leaves, because Mangano's not going to be running for re-election. He's done. He's gone come November, and he'll be definitely out of office by January. And now I think it's time, considering how much money the state puts into this bus operation in Nassau, I think it's time for the state to take control and bring the MTA back. The system has been destroyed by Mangano, this private company. They don't maintain their buses. They don't treat their drivers right. They have no clue what they're doing, and they need to be out. However, there is a company that has even worse maintenance than NICE, and that is Educational Bus Transportation, EBT. You can also check out his video on bus 8001, which was a Gillig BRT, and I love those buses. And unfortunately, Educational Bus is not taking care of them. He got on this S1 bus. It was late, and it was overheating, and he said it was overheating, and the air conditioning wasn't working. So yeah, they're not maintaining the buses very well at EBT. I've showed you that. Their maintenance is very bad. However, I will give EBT credit because they try to go out of their way for their passengers sometimes. There have been a number of instances when the last bus of the day will wait for people. They will wait for people, and in the instance of yesterday, I was on the last S33 out of Sunrise Mall, and we were actually leaving Amityville rail, and somebody just missed the bus. We actually went and came back to pick him up. All right, so they will try to go out of their way for people. They've tried to, like, somebody's lost something on the bus, because they are somewhat of a small company, so they try, even though their maintenance is not good, they are polite, and they do try to take care of their customers, whereas NICE could care less about their customers. I will say that, all right, that's all I'm going to say. That's all the credit I'm going to give EBT for, because I think their maintenance practices are pretty damn bad. And I've still heard a lot of things, they treat the drivers poorly. But I'm just saying, I've noticed that they have tried to go out of their way for people sometimes. So you got to give them credit where credit's due, you know. But we are experiencing the real summer of hell, us bus riders, with the cuts that we've had to deal with the bad maintenance. Yeah, we get no coverage from the media. Huh? Why is that? Why is that? Well, you know why it is. It's because the people who take the train have more money. That's basically what it has to do with. And, you know, it's all about who has the money. Those who don't, well, they get ignored by the media, and that's why I got to keep, despite my own situation, I got to keep trying to bring you some of these things, because the media, they're not going to cover it for you, you know. And one last thing, even though I don't really talk about it too much, I no longer support President Trump, all right, because you notice that the new guy that they put in there, Scaramucci, he is your typical Wall Street globalist type of people. So no longer support Donald Trump. I certainly, as long as his administration keeps going the way it's going, I do not plan on voting for him again. I think we made a huge mistake by electing that man. So certainly the alternative was worse. Hillary was still worse. But Trump sold us a raw deal. He sold us a bad deal. And I think that he's only looking out for the wealthiest Americans, just like so many of our politicians are. It seems to be, that's what it's all about. But I really don't want to do too much social issues. I think I spent over a minute already of this video bringing that up, so I really don't want to do that anymore. But anyway, take it easy. The last thing is the weather. We've had some hot weather this past week, and it has been so hot in Tom's River, it's actually getting noticed on the TV stations. I really feel for the people that have to live in Tom's River, because it's really hot there. That's part of the reason why I don't want to ever have to live there. Even though the people are nice and they're beautiful pines, the climate is brutal in the summer. So that is it. Take it easy. Thank you for watching.